prep all new documents.
One new document found. New actions are now available. Transcription completed.
It lets me take 2 to 3 days worth of effort and condense it down.
I removed all the grammatical errors from the document. Based on the content, I have suggestions for titles and thumbnails. A rough draft of a blog of your ideas is ready for review. An email for newsletter subscribers has been drafted for your review.
So in the first video, I showed you what the world of text was, how it works, why you would want to use it, and how it could impact you positively. But I want to go deeper now. I want to actually show you specific examples as to how this actually works and what this actually means in practice. I'm kind of excited. I'm really excited. Let's just jump right into it. Okay, so when creating a YouTube video, I spend about 2 to 5 hours writing and rewriting the concept. And that's just my spare time. When I'm not writing lines of code, I'm usually writing design docs or one-pagers for other engineers to review. But if you're anything like me, you have a hard time putting things into words and keeping a consistent train of thought. But I created an automation that lets me take 2 to 3 hours, or no, it lets me take 2 to 3 days worth of effort and condense it down into just 1 hour. And when you find out how, I think you'll probably change the way that you work too. Hey, my name is Michael Montague, and I am a software engineer with over a decade of industry experience. On this channel, I typically share unique automations that impact your personal and professional life. Okay, so how do you become more productive? What do you imagine a productive person look like? The most common way we hear productivity measured in is time.
The first rule of productivity is to just get faster at the thing you're doing. An advanced version would be automation with AI. Think Zapier or other tools like it, where you can plug into workflows and use the AI to understand what you're manually doing, for it to process it and automate the whole thing so you never have to touch that work again. It could be everything from processing comments on your social media to connecting your inbox so that once a day, maybe twice a day, you get a summary of all your emails using AI to figure out which ones are high priority, which ones are low, with even recommended text to reply to those emails. Learning how to automate and increase workflow and be productive costs you nothing, but improves the cycle time.
So basically, the faster you can do a task, the more productive you're gonna feel. For example, have you ever woke up early, right, to get some work done, and then you look at your watch and think to yourself, wow, I got a lot of stuff done today, just to find out it's 11:32 a.m. Yeah, it's not even lunchtime, and you felt like you accomplished 8 hours worth of work. Before I show you the automation that lets me condense 3 days worth of effort into 1 hour, I need to introduce you to a concept that makes all of this possible, and I'm going to share it to you in this simple story. Now, I'm an anime fan. Okay, so now that we got that out the way, there's a concept I sometimes see in isekais where the MC gains new abilities and they often become really OP, but to cope with that incredible power that they've attained, they gain like a second or third or even more consciousness. Now stay with me, I know this sounds crazy. These consciousness that lives within their head allows the main character to focus on the challenge that's in front of them, while in the background these independent consciousness solves other issues. It's like basically having 2 or 3 brains that can work in tandem to solve complex problems. Now, if that sounds confusing, it's no different than a computer. I'm sure you've heard of dual core processors or quad core processors. Because the computer has multiple cores, it can handle bigger applications and solve more complex problems. But how can you do that? How can I do that? Neither of us, we're not fictional characters and we're not a computer. So how? I think this is where the concept of the world of text becomes really useful. If you don't know what the world of text is, you can check the description for a link to a video that I've done before where I not only talk about the world of text, but I demo some dope automations to illustrate how useful it is. Now, as I show you in these series of automations, I want you to pay really close attention to my thought process. But don't worry, I'm going to keep things as easy as possible. However, if you do need some extra help trying to figure out how this can work for you in your use case, stay tuned till the end as I have some additional automation ideas that may help give you ideas and inspire you to figure out how this works for you. The automation that you saw at the beginning of the video was designed to help me make YouTube videos faster. Creating a YouTube video happens in 3 phases: pre-production, production, and post-production. In my case, a lot of that time is taken up during the pre-production phase. Now, during the pre-production phase, I typically start with an idea and flesh that out. And this can take up to several days to do. There are times where I write out several pages and after reading it, I scrap it entirely and start over, because after I read it, it's kind of easier to see that the direction that an idea is going in is bad. In this phase, I also come up with several titles for the video as well as thumbnail ideas. And this is a very tedious process and I suck at it and it displeases me. But I want you to notice something. All of the pre-production phase items is text-based. So all of this content lives in my world of text, and I can use my second brain to augment and expedite this process. So first, I need a place for both me and the AI to access and manipulate the data. This is where Notion comes in. I really like it because it's super flexible, very powerful, and they make it easy for beginners, more or less. But you don't have to use Notion. Here are some things that you need to look for if you choose to use something else. The application should have an easy to use API that lets you access your text files as well as manipulate the data within it. It's also helpful if that application has a way for you to easily organize and apply metadata to the stuff that you write. For example, in Notion, they have the concept of a database, which is just a fancy table that holds a lot of references to the documents that I create. And because it's a table, I can create as many columns that I want, so I can have in each column something different, like the URL to the YouTube video, or some checkbox to say that this is processed or done or complete. Now that I have a place that both me and the AI can access, I need to choose how the AI will access that data. And here's where I use Node-RED. Yes, I know a lot of you don't like when I talk about Node-RED, but I'm sorry, too bad. It's just too powerful. For those of you that don't know about Node-RED, let me put you on. Node-RED is a low-code way to integrate different services and devices together. Have you seen like Make.com or Zapier? Essentially, it's like having that, but locally in your house or on your computer, that can just connect a lot of stuff together. I will admit, you do need a little bit of know-how, but it's not hard to get that know-how. If you're willing to learn YAML, I think you can learn this. One of the common use cases for Node-RED that I see within the smart home space is that it's used to build out the automations for smart homes. And as a matter of fact, in a few minutes, I'm going to show you how Node-RED can actually create entities for Home Assistant so I can monitor Notion and my world of text on my Home Assistant dashboard. Yeah, guys, this is wild. So using Node-RED, I created several automations that can be triggered within Notion. I'm going to use Google Gemini as my second brain because at the moment it's free and it's quite robust for this particular application. However, you could use GPT or Llama, your choice. Now, with Node-RED acting as the highway between Notion and my AI and my smart home, this brings me to the actual automation. During pre-production, I need to write out my ideas, fix and revise it if necessary, create titles, and create thumbnail ideas. You may not have a pre-production phase of your own, but you probably have some other process that you follow that's pretty text-heavy or requires you to collect and gather a lot of information. In either case, all of this information that I need to gather, I can create all of it without typing a single letter. First, I just need to dictate and talk my way through the idea. I can ramble if necessary and just capture everything on my phone, just like this. The whole thing is I just need to get the thoughts and ideas out of my mind and into some other device. Now, what's cool about Notion is that it lets me create a note from just about anything. So I can actually import my voice recording into Notion. Saving a voice recording to Notion is super simple. Just use the voice recorder how you normally would, and if Notion is on your phone, it should be among the list of apps you can use to share it with. You can also choose the database to which you want to share that note in as well. But here's a word of caution. I was easily able to save 40 minutes of voice recording. However, keep in mind that the AI cannot handle a lot of text all at once. So you're going to have trouble transcribing and processing it. I was able to find that about 20 minutes of recording is the sweet spot, but your mileage may vary. Now that my idea is out of my mind and into a voice recording, into Notion, I can tell my smart home to watch this document and process it, which will do two things. The first is that because now my smart home is watching this Notion document, I can ask it questions about it. This may not seem useful in the moment, but this will become more interesting and useful later on, so just pin that idea. The second is that it places special actions within this document. Now, this first action that you see here is transcribe. By clicking it, Node-RED will call a transcription service that I use with GPT and write out everything that's within this voice recording. There may be a way to transcribe locally using Whisper. I took the easy way out and sent it to GPT using the API I found here. If you have an OpenAI dev account, you should be able to use this. But how was I able to update the Notion document with this transcribed text? Well, here's my secret.
Spoiler alert, my boy is stronger than morning breath.
For those of you who use Home Assistant, you know how you can install different integrations and add-ons that let you control different devices and enhance your smart home capabilities? Well, Node-RED gives you an additional library of tools to pull from, so you're not only limited to what's in Hacks or Home Assistant. When I first searched for an integration for Notion for Home Assistant, I was rudely tricked by an automation company with the same name. Then when I tried Reddit, I was just met with sad. There was a guy who created this post who simply wanted to write logs and sensor data to his Notion document, but the advice was to create his own Python add-on to add to Home Assistant or use Grafana. Now, when I checked Node-RED, I was able to download this great library that lets me not only query, but also update any Notion document that I had. And I showed you how to download and use it here in this video. There's also a link in the description for your convenience. Revise will take all of my poorly spoken text and clean it up so it sounds coherent and easy to read, because I have a lot of ums and uhs, and it will help get rid of all of that. Revise and the other settings here heavily leverages AI, and in my case, that's Google Gemini. I'm also using pieces of a project called Fabric, created by Daniel Meisler. Fabric is a collection of curated open source AI prompts that runs via the terminal using the AI of your choice. The prompts are so well constructed that they enable the AI model to do specific jobs and provide reliable output at the same time. I borrowed two prompts here: Revise, aka clean text, and the other one is called create formal email, which I'll explain in a little bit. I also used Summarize Prompt in an automation shown to my Technithusiast community members. This was the first automation or prompt that I used that proved that this type of automation could work. So next is to create the title and thumbnails. This particular automation or command gives the AI a series of instructions that will generate 10 titles and score each and give a description as to why it was given that particular rating. And it also generates 5 prompts that I can use to put into an image generator to generate pictures for the thumbnails. Now, all of the prompts that I used for this would probably require its own video, but what I can say about it is that when I told this to my friend, it blew his mind. It just utterly blew his mind, and he told me that I need to make a video about it, but I have not yet, so I'll probably do that for you guys. But if you notice, the longest part of this entire process was just creating the voice recording. Every other text that's on this page was created by AI, and this is days worth of work compressed into just a few seconds. Now I can easily read through this document and fix it up, add my own ideas to it, or if the premise is bad, I can easily just start over and re-record a new idea on my phone. This is just pre-production. We still got 2 more phases to go right after you click the subscribe button and like this video. But real talk, if you do like this type of out of the ordinary ideas, subscribe and come along for the journey, man. This is what I do here. Okay, so Production phase. Not much to talk about because this is where I actually record the content. And I currently don't use AI in this portion. However, if you run like a faceless YouTube channel, this step may look different for you. But either way, not much to talk about here. Let's go to post-production. Post-production is where I edit and prep the video for YouTube. I do use a lot of AI tools in this part, but the two automations I want to focus on for this is creating the blog and the email. Now, writing this blog can take me hours and sometimes it can take me days, especially if I'm not focused, which is usually all the time. The create blog button generates a blog based off of the content that we already have within this document. When I looked through Fabric, they didn't have a suitable prompt for creating a blog, so I created my own. I simply copied the format and played around with the instructions until the AI produced what I was looking for. And here's an example. In the identity and purpose area, I tell the AI what role to assume. I thought through my personal process when creating a blog, and I broke it down into simple steps. The last part tells the AI how to output that final result. The instruction goes here in the system node, and the text the AI will use as the input goes here in the user node. Remember how I told you that Node-RED gives you an additional library of tools? Well, there are a ton of tools that you can use to easily communicate with GPT and other machine learning platforms. The nodes here are custom ones that I created to communicate with GPT, Ollama, and Gemini. This is how I'm able to easily leverage AI in many of my projects, and I have a playlist here that shows you how to install and use them. With the blog that it generates, I typically just go back and change parts of that document so it sounds more like me and it feels less sterile. And the last button generates an email that I can use to let subscribers know about the whole video and blog. I can't stress enough how customizable these prompts are. I mentioned earlier that I use the create formal email pattern, but in truth, I only use it as a base. The same way I created a custom pattern to generate blogs, I created one for generating emails. Since I don't want AI to speak for me, I use all of the generated content as a base. In this way, it dramatically reduces the time I waste fighting my own mental noise that happens when I write. When I said that this automation makes me 60 times more productive, I was underselling it. Everything that I talked about here was specifically for my use case for creating YouTube videos. But I want you to open your mind, so here's some inspiration. For those of you who are able to record your meetings, you can use the transcription process that I mentioned earlier, and then pair that with the extract questions pattern, or the extract ideas patterns, or better yet, this new one that was created about a month ago called Transcribe Minutes, which identifies the main idea, minutes, action items, decisions made, challenges, and even next steps. Or how about crafting your own pattern that analyzes the body of emails to determine the priority that's specifically catered to you? Instead of manually going through each email, it can summarize what's important to review and present it to you at the end of the day. Node-RED has plugins that let you connect some email providers to your system, or if you use Home Assistant, you have an integration that Node-RED can trigger events on when email arrives. Now, this automation is a derivative of the email watchdog automation that I created a while back when my Facebook got hacked, so you can check that video out in the description. Do you remember the idea that I told you to pin at the beginning of this video? That because now my smart home is watching this Notion document, I can ask it questions about it. Now, this may not seem useful in the moment, but this will become more interesting and useful later on, so just pin that idea. Imagine that you catalog the conversations that you have with your family, friends, and acquaintances, essentially creating like a personal database of personal interactions, similar to like a diary or a journal. You can ask your personal, let's call it life assistant, about interactions that you've had in the past. You can stay informed about the meaningful aspects about each other's lives. For those of you that are into smart home technology, this connects to your smart home, as I just explained. I have a dashboard here that lets me see the number of documents, and as a result, I can use that information within other automations. So for example, if I need to create a to-do, my to-dos are not naked. My smart home will see that I'm trying to create a to-do. It will look through all of my documents and see if any of those are relevant to it, and then it'll augment that with more information so it's less naked. Same thing for calendar events. If I have to set up a calendar event, it will see anything that I've written that has to deal with whatever that content was, and then it'll just augment it for me. Some other ideas that I have around this is that instead of it being reactive, where it just reacts to the things that I want to do, it takes a more proactive approach. So it will notice that certain ideas and things that I've created are related. And as a result, it will prompt me, hey, I see that you've wanted to do A and you want to do B, but these two things are similar. Do you want me to combine them or augment one of them so you can have more context about this thing or get something started for you? Like, I would like to head down that route. That is, with what I have done so far, that's completely doable. Like we can do that. Now, if you still feel lost, in a minute I'm going to suggest some resources that I thought was really, really good and helped me out. But something you may be interested in knowing is that in the Technithusiast community, there's an automation library filled with automations that I've created, and many of the automations that you've seen here are available there along with downloadable blueprints that you could import into Node-RED that will save you a ton of time. Now, the community is filled with chill and innovative working professionals who explore automations and smart home tech on their spare time. For context, a lot of the individuals in the group have technical backgrounds. Like they're skilled at what they do, from network engineering to infrastructure to software engineering. Like, they run the gamut. And there are others who aren't necessarily technically inclined in that profession, but they have strong technical skills regardless. Like, these are some really gifted people. Very great conversations and really cool ideas happen within this group. Additionally, there are members who I've named the silent patrons who simply love the content that I produce and just want to help support it financially. Whether you're a chill enthusiast or a silent patron, this community has spaces dedicated for curated automations, open discussion boards, and early exclusive access to useful out-of-the-box automations you're not going to find anywhere else. Listen, if what I presented here spoke to your soul, the very first link in this video will take you to a page where you can learn about the community and sign up. Here are some resources to get you over some various knowledge gaps. To help you get started with Notion, watch this video from Jeff Su. He shows you how to create a banger Notion dashboard for beginners. For those of you simply wanting to use Fabric via the command line, as Daniel Meisler probably intended, watch this video from Network Chuck. To help you get started with Node-RED, I have a paid course that builds up to showing you how to use AI in your automations. The pre-sale for this course is closed, however, it will be opening back up after the course is completed. You can check the link to sign up for the waiting list. If you would like something free and shows you how to use Node-RED and Home Assistant and how they work together, check out this playlist from the hookup. But if you have no idea what Home Assistant is or how it works or how to get started, recently Reed from Smart Home Solver created a beginner's guide. Very well timed, Reed. Now, if you're comfortable with all of that, let me show you how I created this dashboard that connects my Home Assistant instance to this Notion template and how all of this stuff works.